making those cold calls, reaching out on social media ways, text message, email, those are hard ways for certain companies to do. While some other recruiters might have been working on it, I don't think they were attacking it the same way.
Welcome back to Talent Hunters, powered by MRI Network, where each week we talk with the world's top talent strategists and executive recruiters. If you want to build talented teams that drive your company to big goals and big growth, then this podcast is for you. And now, let's join the conversation with today's episode of Talent Hunters.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm with Tim Goede, owner of Goede Premier Recruitment in St. Louis, Missouri. GPR specializes in the high-tech world globally. Top 50 office for 2023, Tim. Welcome to the conversation.
Thanks for having me, Vince.
So, Tim, you and I had a chance to talk just a little bit about how you got into this business, and I'm fascinated for our audience to hear this story. So, tell us a bit about your background and tell us how you got started in the search world.
Yeah, several years ago, I guess back in 2006, I was working at a company and had a couple days off away from the office, and an opportunity presented itself where a former family member had their own recruiting firm, and been doing it 25 plus years, very successful around the St. Louis local area, and decided him and his brother-in-law were going to get into the finance industry together and didn't want to lose all of the business that they had. So kind of presented that to myself and my father. And, obviously I was 25 at the time and didn't know where I wanted to go in life, but, entrepreneur was always, something that was in the back of my mind. So we looked into it further and here we are 17 years later, but when we first started, it was, here's the phone book, here's all of my accounts, go out and find them and see what you can do. So we took the bull by the horns and we're off and running for a couple months. And then he ended up calling me back and said, yeah, the industry is tanking on the finance side of things. I'm going to look back to bring my business back. I was like, okay, where does that leave me? Where we've been doing this a couple months. Am I out of a job? Do I need to find something? And he said, no, well, I'll kind of help you and we'll piggyback and transition into some things. So all right. So it was going okay. It wasn't ideal. And we were looking into some franchises and piggybacking off that. So we joined a franchise down in the Southeast. They specialized in the restaurant, retail, hospitality. Very specific niche from before when we were just doing sales and automotive and medical device and construction, everything you could think of, name it. That's what we were doing. So this was a little bit more niche focused and my father and I thought, okay, this might be a little bit better of a transition. So we did that for a couple of years, was very successful. Industries kind of went downhill here and there. At the time, it was just myself, and my father was in the security industry. He was working on the integrator and manufacturer side, selling physical security, the access control, CCTV, and was kind of a fascinating, industry that I was looking into. Didn't know much about it, but, heard his stories and ended up attending one of the trade shows, I guess about 14 years ago or so, and really liked the industry, really liked the technology, and where we were at on the restaurant, retail, hospitality side, it was kind of fading. Weren't making good money. It was hard to cold call, hard to get people to respond back. It just wasn't what we expected. So ended up leaving there and got into the security side of things, technology as it is now, and joined MRI back in 2013. 10 plus years as a veteran now with them, and they've been great with training and onboarding and marketing, everything you could think of. So we're blazing ahead now on the security side, and it changed obviously as everything else has evolved. And it's not just the technology side now; it's the audio visual, and it's the software, and it's the cloud, and the SaaS, and all those fancy buzzwords that everybody likes to get in their mouths. And that's kind of where we're at now. We're chugging along. There's 5 of us now, looking to grow at a slow but steady rate. Not anything big, but really focusing on sales and engineering and management in these technology based type companies. And as the MRI say, building companies and careers, and we absolutely love it, doing well at it.
Thank you for the details on that. And I don't want to spend a lot of time dwelling on this, but I do want, for the benefit of new people that are coming into this, to do just a little bit deeper dive. Sure. It sounded to me like, until you got hooked up with MRI, that the training might not have been as good as it could have been. Is that a true statement?
From our perspective, I mean, we were all over the place. We tried to bring some people on board as we were going, and didn't know the right questions to ask. Where do we find them? Did they need to have recruiting experience? Do they need to have the technology type experience? So MRI really helped us in that regards of, okay, here's a 3-week step process. Here's the right way to do. Here's where they should be in 3 to 6 months. So that training side of it was absolutely phenomenal, because we were we were all over the place. I mean, sometimes you have a gut feeling, you know how that is, where I think this person might make it. They don't have experience, but they really guided us in that way of, okay, here's some good key things to look for in hiring for yourself, and make yourself successful. Because obviously, the more people you have and the more manpower, the more more people you can help out on a daily basis. So yeah, they were great in that transition on the onboarding for us and training for sure.
And then on a final note, it sounds like there truly was and I don't know the right word here, but whether it was a passion, an interest, or a desire to go into that securities industry, because it's, you talked about the other 2 industries and you kind of went over them, but here some heart came out when you started to describe the securities industry.
Well, it was my father's fault, because he said, once you get in the security industry, you never leave. So I knew I was screwed from day one. But no, it's looking at it. Yes. I mean, you see all the things that are happening around in the world with the bombings and the school shootings and things like that. And, just the way that this industry is trying to help that, the cybersecurity is even a different animal that we haven't even touched base. But, after 9/11, going into the airports with the metal detectors and the gun detection and things like that, it's extremely passionate about seeing how that industry has evolved. And now even the software side, that's another animal of where all that feed goes from the cameras and the access control, and walking into a building that's locked. Now you got the badge controls to get in. Company like Edward Jones, the big finance buildings where they got, a couple hundred people coming in and out each day, how is that monitored? So yeah, just seeing that technology evolve, over the last, 13, 14 years we've been doing this is tremendous. And, now you got the AI side of things and the SaaS and the IoT. It's just, recruiting in that just makes it even easier.
Easier, more challenging, but the interest and the passion is there to learn as you're growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You brought up something else as we were discussing earlier, that the middle of last summer and so forth, it was a little bit difficult to get a hold of people. How did you approach solving that issue? How did you start to dig out? How were you contacting people when it was hard to reach people? What were you doing differently?
Well, we've always had a very good pipeline of clients. Obviously, the candidate side is there since we've been doing this for a while. We get very good referrals and word of mouth and things like that. And it was a challenge. Sometimes you get very pigeonholed in this industry. Obviously, when we first started, it was had to make 100 phone calls per day, and if you made 98, your day wasn't over. And now you got the emails and the texts, and not each individual likes to respond on LinkedIn or a text message. So, really had to be creative in finding those ways. If you made 6 phone calls and they didn't answer, but you never sent a text or an email, try that version. So just multiple ways of reaching out and really trying to find out, how to get a hold of them. Is text message number one? Is it email? Is it on LinkedIn? Is it, whatever the case might be. So we just didn't work one avenue of ways. It was, multiple ways, trying to figure out what it was and attacking it at all angles.
Love the fact of trying every way possible rather than dial the phone and give up. That's awesome.
Yep.
Is there in your history, is there one placement that stands out to you that you can kind of stand up and beat your chest? That's the best one I ever had.
Well, obviously the first one you ever get, that's always framed on the wall. So, that's very exciting, whether it was, a senior level position or an entry level bakery position, whatever it was, I got that first one under my belt, we're off and running. So obviously that's a key one. But several years ago, we had a company reach out and they were doing the search for 2 or 3 months, scared the heck out of us because they're trying 2 or 3 months. Who are we going to find? It was a global sales position, probably company of 350 people, and looking for a U.S. VP of sales to overlook sales, management, engineering, marketing. So several departments here in the U.S. And did the search. They had a couple parameters that they wanted us to focus on. I won't go into names and things like that. And it was the biggest search that we've had, since we were in business. And it was just rewarding because we went out, they told us what they needed. They were looking for 2.5, 3 months. And within a week and a half, we found this person. They started the interview process, and within a month's time, they hired that person. Yes, the fee was great at the time, but just having them reach out, weren't able to find the candidate. Scared the crap out of us because, well, if they haven't found them, there's, this is a needle in the haystack saying, we're not probably going to go out and find one. Hey, we'll take on the search. Why not? So that was probably one of our, highlights of our career, going out and finding that high level VP of sales that's going to overlook, all of the U.S. operations. And obviously we got the repeat business. So that was, very exciting as well too. And those were a couple to ring our bell.
So again, for the benefit of the audience, you make it sound so easy. They couldn't find it for 3 months. It took us a week and a half. So how did you identify what they couldn't identify? Granted, they're using other recruiters, but what did you do in your mind differently than they were doing?
I think just multiple ways of reaching out. I think where our expertise comes in as a recruiter, and a lot of our companies, I'd say 75% of them have an internal HR, which is great. But making those cold calls, reaching out on social media ways, text message, email, those are hard ways for certain companies to do. And while some other recruiters might have been working on it, I don't think they were attacking it the same way. We didn't just make one phone call and give up and go down to the next person and boom, boom, boom. We really keyed on, probably 3 to 5 people that were ideal for this, because it wasn't a large search. It wasn't, where there was, hundreds of candidates that were going to be viable for this. So, attacking it multiple ways and not giving up. And I think the biggest thing, and I'm not sure who made the initial phone call, but throwing that little carrot out there, you can make a phone call. Yeah, I got a position. If they call you back, great. It was, hey, you're going to be overlooking all, making it exciting for them. And I think that's what we did. That was a little bit different than, what a job posting looked like or what other recruiter was presenting. So I think we just presented it in a more fashionable way that grabbed his attention.
There's a word that really sticks out in my brain. To be successful in this business, you have to earn trust, and the people you talk to have to earn trust.
Yep.
And this company that struggled finding somebody, how did you, I can see where you earned their trust. You found the solution rather quickly. Okay. But in the everyday world, what's your method of earning a client, a hiring authority's trust that you're the people that can go out and do this?
I think the biggest thing is treat them how you would want to be treated. That's an everyday business. That's an everyday life. It's whether you're a coach or whatever position you're in. I think that's the biggest thing that we try to relate to them. How we want to. This is people buy from people. You could have the lowest price, you could have the highest price. You get into the nitty gritty of all those things, but people buy from people that they like. So, that's our number one first outreach touch. There's 1,000 recruiters reaching out to the same people. What makes us different? So showing them how they want to be treated is how we want to be treated, and having that mindset of this is people business, people type business. Put the agreements and all that stuff aside, how much they, what fees and all that are, and really dig it into treating them respectfully, learning a little bit more about what they're looking for and what gets them excited, why they join the company. So just little things like that, I think, earns your trust instead of saying, hey, we got the lowest fee. We've been in business 17 years. We've, have 45 years of industry experience. You can go through all those intangibles and tangibles, but, really digging into treating them the way that, they want to be treated, I think is number one. And secondly, what gets them excited, everybody likes to talk about themselves, people aren't asking those type of questions. All they want to do is get their foot in the door, get the business, make a placement, and, run from there. So, being their friend, being their partner, being their eyes on, really getting that sense of who they are, what they like, their side interests, what do they like to do on the weekends, what, different things like that. I think kind of sets you over the edge instead of just, 100 phone calls and, hey, here's what we are, here's what we do. So we kind of treat it with that mentality.
And you treat candidates with the same structure?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Do you feel that's what cuts you apart from all the other recruiters out there focused on the securities world?
Yeah, because it goes back to not every individual is the same, and even within the same company, when we're talking to an engineering manager at one company and a VP of sales, or two regional sales directors within the same company, one on the West Coast, one on the Midwest or East Coast, whatever it is, they see eye to eye what the company is, but they're not looking for the same person. So again, going back to we get pigeonholed like, okay, it's this company, we know what they're looking for. We did a placement for them 2 months ago. They come back, we don't need to write the job description. We don't need to have a 15, 20, 30-minute phone call. We already know. You do the search and, you send 5 to 7 candidates. They're like, no, this isn't what we're looking for. Well, that's what you were doing So, and sometimes we get in that vision of doing that and just assuming, we can't assume. So, candidate client wise, qualifying each candidate. All right, what's your motivators? Is it quality of life? Is it less travel? Is it the benefits package? Is it, salary? So everybody has those little tickle buttons that they want. So you have to dive into that. You can't just assume, all right, they're another sales rep or they're another engineer. They got the same MBA and same bachelor's and things like that. So you just have to. It's a waiting game. It takes a little bit longer, but I think in the end it pays off a lot more than just assuming, doing the search. Assuming this candidate likes this. Send them to a client. You come back to them and now this isn't what I was looking for. I want something else. Darn it. So it's a little more time consuming, but in the end, like I said, it definitely pays off a lot more than just assuming what they want and what they're going to look for.
So the next question is going to sound a little peculiar. This should come from your heart. Other than the placement, because that's the easy answer. What about this business do you purely love?
I think it's the motivation of, goes back to that big one, that we solve their problems. That's number one. The placement, the fee's good and all that, but building that relationship, having them say, here's our problem, here's our need, or, here's our vision, here's our goal. How can you help us? And, really consult with them and say, okay, here's what we're seeing in the market. They might think they're seeing something in the market that we aren't. We're making the phone calls, we're talking to clients, talking to candidates on a daily basis. So we see what's out there, whether it's salary wise or benefits or travel, quality of life, so we really consult them. So, that's the big motivation from, the client side, really, guiding a path and creating that for both of us to go down. And then on the candidate side, what gets them motivated and really coming up with a plan. Is there 5 to 10 companies that you like that you might want us to market it to you? Are you looking, to do less hours? So, those are motivating factors. So having that client from, day one say, all right, here's what we're looking for. We put the plan together, and then however long that interview process takes, and then at the end, we filled that candidate, with them doing job postings, with other recruiters working on it, with their, talent acquisition manager. So, that's rewarding from the, client standpoint. And then the candidate saying, hey, we get a lot of referrals and networking since we've been in business. So whether they were referral or, cold call them, here's what I'm looking for. And, them calling you on day 3, being like, oh my God, this is the best company. Thank you so much for, changing my career. And, that's awesome. That's, there's no fee, there's no placement, there's nothing in the world that could, change that, feeling of, wow, I just helped the client, or I just helped the candidate, change with their life, whether it's, whatever the case might be. So yeah, that gets me motivated each and every day to, see what's next on the agenda for the day, and, what client, what candidate can we help out?
Love that. Love that. Where do you see you or GPR 5 years from now?
I think even stronger than ever. I'm getting to the point where I'm not running a 360 desk anymore. A lot of the, I still love the client development. I'll never give that up. That's fun, making those connections with the clients. Once we get those positions, feeding them off to our PCs. But I would like to really manage the business. What works for us. Attending other shows outside of our industry, but more sales training, how to run your business. So from my perspective, I would like to take more responsibility on that. Not that we're going to be selling or retiring soon, but I want to see what that next level looks like. Do we need an operations manager? Do we need more PCs? Do we need the marketing or digital manager? So from my perspective, that's kind of where we see that. I'll always still be involved in the clients. I'll never give those up. And then we won't have an army. We won't have 10 or 12 plus people, but grow in a good way that makes sense for us. Everybody has their own, not budget, but their own roadmap and philosophy. So we work really good in tandems. There's 2 of us that work together, and then the other 2, and we can cross reference. So there's not any button heads and all that. But really looking to expand. We're very good on the physical security side. There's always opportunities in different technology type markets. I think expanding into those would be a good way that we want to move into as well. And we'll see where that takes us. And have that plan. But obviously, there's always wrenches and things that get thrown our way. So that's kind of our that's our goal right now. But hopefully, it moves in that right direction. That's for sure.
So I love how you are consumed in the business right now. I mean, that's why you're successful. That's why you're a top 50 office, obviously climbing. A little lighter. What do you do to unwind? What do you do to let go of the business?
Well, we're based in St. Louis, Missouri, so the weather is not very cooperable at times. In fact, we're getting ready to, I think it's going to be a high of 7 and a low of -10 for the next 3 to 4 days, and expecting snow. So I grew up playing golf. I played in high school and played in college. Was a scratch golfer at the time before moving into the business world, and now with 2 kids, that has definitely while I'm skyrocketing maybe in the MRI offices, my handicap is also skyrocketing. So I'm probably at a 4 or 5 right now, but so golf is probably the number one thing if I can do. But I got two kids that are active in sports, and seeing them grow up and transition the way that I did with playing soccer and baseball and golf and all that. So, that's pretty much my everyday doing that while, we go from work to practices to games to training, whatever it might be, but just meeting new parents. We're stuck here, behind a phone and a computer most of the day. So, getting out and meeting new parents, it's parents that I haven't seen, in 15, 20 years that I might've went to high school with or college, that have same, kids. So, attending those events, and now they're starting to do the out of town tournaments and things like that. So, I definitely say those two things, getting away. And then obviously the vacation here and there, over the summer or spring is good getaways as well too.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love how you say your handicap is skyrocketing to 4 or 5. I mean, first of all, what you shoot in 18 is probably what I do in 9. And to say 4 or 5 as a handicap, most of the population listening to this would love to be able to get to that. So good for you. It shows it shows that. And obviously that blends into your work world too. Well, I do want to thank you very much, Tim. As a final part, do you have any questions that you can think of that you might want to ask me?
Oh, I got probably 1,000 of them, from what technology you use to what's your favorite story. But the two probably are the biggest ones. First one being pretty easy. Whether you have a solo desk or a company of 20 plus here in the recruiting business, what do you think is the one piece that somebody would need to be successful, to be attainable in this business, to make enough noise? You see some that, again, that are solo operators, some that are 20 plus. So, some have an army and some are there by themselves. What's that one piece that you think a recruiting company really needs to specialize to be successful?
Boy, that's a complicated question. And the only thing I can tell you is that the way you've come up is the way I came up. I came up as a recruiter. It's hard to teach other people how to do this business if you haven't struggled and made it as a recruiter first, because you can empathize with what they're going through. So probably the easy answer would be exactly what you've done, okay? Mm-hmm. And that is to prove to yourself what works. And then as you bring people in, you're in a position to help them become better, because you'll be looked at as somebody that has bled the same blood they're bleeding and experienced the same successes that they've experienced.
Oh, wow. That's great. I like that. Very good. Very good.
You said there was another question?
Yeah. So, obviously when we started 17 years ago, it was, strictly just a phone book and writing down on a piece of paper. And then Career Builder and Monster came out, and they were going to, completely wipe out recruiters, and, we were no longer going to exist. And, kind of fought that battle. And then Indeed and Bounty Jobs, and now LinkedIn, and, the AI is very popular as well too. Where do you see the recruiting industry going, and why is there going to be, how can we be successful moving forward past all these obstacles that we've already, we've been through a variety of different, crashes and markets, fallouts and things like that. And obviously the career builders and social media and all that. How can recruiting firms keep moving and chugging along to be successful moving forward?
Thank you for asking that question. You have to understand, when I started, the new technology that came out after I started was a fax machine. And that was going to put us out of business because everybody could fax their resumes, right?
Yep.
So, and of course, from there, everything changed and everything. To answer your question as succinctly as I possibly can, use everything that's coming out new as a potential tool. Do not make it the way you do your business. You still got to talk to people. Therefore, the phone is the most important tool you've got, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All these other technologies that come out, honestly, if we're consuming ourselves, my opinion, if we're consuming ourselves during the day on social media and all this other technology, we're losing sight of the purest form of being successful, and that is having a conversation with people. You mentioned it earlier, finding different ways to reach out to these people.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. But don't lose sight as you grow. 10 years from now, technology is going to be totally different. Don't lose sight and don't give up on what's made you successful this far. Because honest to God, 38 years later, the thing we attack every morning is the telephone. And you mentioned it, whether it was 100 calls a day or whatever it was. Stay true to that 10 years from now. But use the new technology as a tool to enhance those conversations. Does that help at all?
That's powerful. You heard it, everybody. You heard it here first. That's the way. I couldn't agree more. That was very well said. I think you're spot on.
Well, Tim, I want to thank you very much. This was such a pleasure to hook up with you and listen to how you got through to finally getting to that point of being successful. Your perseverance, your attention to detail is just beyond excellent. And I thank you very, very much.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you. I'm glad MRI got this set up for all of us. And this was outstanding. If there's anything else I can do or help out or answer, certainly let me know. I appreciate you having me on.